So I may have stumbled upon a little bit of a hidden gem here from Roberto Capucci. This is L'Homme Suave. It's 100 ml eau de toilette, and I paid a whopping $23 for this one. It's one of those deals where I was doing what I usually do, and that's browsing discounters front to back, looking for deals for you guys, which I do post over on my community tab, by the way. So if you haven't gotten subscribed yet and started following that tab to save yourself money, make sure you do so. But back on track, I ended up stumbling upon this one. It was super cheap. I looked it up online, saw that it had a little bit of a similarity to Sauvage, and so I figured, hey, I might as well throw it in and we'll at least check it out. It could either suck, or it could be just okay, or it could be really, really good. And I didn't think that it was gonna be really, really good when picking it up. I thought it was gonna be more towards the end of not being so great. But this has exceeded my expectations, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you how it smells, how it performs, how it compares to Sauvage, and if I think you should pick it up. Let's get into it. And of course, most importantly, I will drop a link down below so you can get this one for basically 20 bucks here. So when you first spray this one on, whether it be on skin or up in the air, you get that Sauvage type of DNA. And so it's Sauvage EDT primarily, but I also get like bits and pieces of Prada Lunarosa carbon as well. And so what does that mean? Well, that means you get that ambroxan brightness from Sauvage Eau de Toilette, the ambroxan, bergamot, all of that type of stuff, right? And that peppery spiciness. But then you get this kind of more smooth and slight sweetness aspect that starts coming onto this, and that would be coming from Prada Lunarosa carbon. I guess you could also say that it would also have hints of Sauvage Eau de Parfum, or maybe even the Parfum, but I kind of stick to the carbon thing. I think it reminds me a little bit more of carbon mixed with Sauvage Eau de Toilette, so it's kind of a cool hybrid of sorts. And like I said, right when you spray it, it's instantaneous. You know exactly where you're going to be with this one. And so for a lot of you guys out there, it'll be really easy to decide if this is something you're going to like the smell of. I mean, just by watching this video, if you like the smell of Sauvage or that Sauvage DNA, you're going to like this. If you don't, then you're not going to like this. So it's super easy to digest here. And I think that's pretty cool. It's very clearly going to be kind of a clone. But it did come out in 2016, so, you know, it's not like it's just been released. I mean, they really got ahead of the game here with this. Remember, Sauvage Eau de Toilette was launched in 2015, and if I could pull up carbon here real quick, because I can't remember off the top of my head, it was 2017. So this actually came before carbon. I did not know that. So that kind of changes the narrative a little bit as well. For sure, taking heavy inspiration from Sauvage all the way down to the name of this, which in parentheses on FRAGRANCEBUY.CA, they do put in Sauvage, right, up against Suave. And so that part makes sense. But carbon came after this, a year after. So that kind of carbon comparison that you get from this one may have actually stemmed from here. Like maybe Prada was kind of drawing some inspiration from this when releasing carbon. Now, this stuff is all very, very you know, subjective. I mean, it's something where, you know, not necessarily for sure. You got to think that fragrances could be in production for a long period of time. And so when you got a year's worth of a gap, you never know for sure what went down, but it is kind of interesting. So let's take a look at the note breakdown. There is quite a bit of notes here that we need to digest. We have bergamot, anise, cyclamen, basil, and lemon up top, lavender, cyclamen again, and jasmine in the mid, amber, tobacco, patchouli, oak moss, leather, incense, and musk in the base. So you'll notice here there's a lot more going on, and it appears to look more interesting in terms of the note breakdown, right? The tobacco, oak moss, patchouli, incense, leather, right? Pretty much the whole entire base of this one looks pretty cool. However, when you do get this one on skin and you do smell it, even as you start to work into the dry down, I don't really get a whole lot of that tobacco or anything like that. Now, to be fair, there is kind of a slight smokiness that I do pick up on further in the dry down. You know, the oak moss is kind of going to be a prominent note, giving it this masculine woodiness, maybe nuances of leather, but it doesn't go too overboard with those notes, which you do get a lot of those at amber, like I was talking about. In this form, it's going to be just your typical kind of ambroxan form, very similar to that of Sauvage and carbon and so on. A good amount of lavender, of course, just like in the original. Now, I'm not sure what the spiciness is going to be coming from. They don't have like black pepper listed here, but you do get that bergamot up top for sure. The anise kind of gives off something of like a licorice sweetness, and I think that's where that sweetness is coming from that I was drawing similarities to carbon with, right? When I was talking about that smooth sweetness, I think that's the note that would be contributing to that kind of feeling overall. So it's pretty interesting. For what it's worth, I also don't mind the bottle. I think it's very simplistic, but also just very classy. Just refined, you know, it's not gaudy, it doesn't stand out. The cap is just a press fit, and the atomizer is nothing to get worked up over. But again, we're talking about a $20 scent here. All things considered, I can't complain. That opening though, especially in the air, really hits. I mean, it has some serious punch to it, and I mean, it'll really get your attention. This is a big head turner here, no surprise. Now, another really cool factor about this one, believe it or not, is its performance. This is a good performer on my skin. And that's another thing where I'm like, okay, yeah, this smells good when I was initially testing it, but it's probably not gonna last. That's what I was thinking to myself given the price point. But I was pleasantly surprised. After continuous wearing, I was getting a pretty consistent 8.5 hours of longevity out of this, a $20 eau de toilette. Now, it's not on the level of Sauvage. That's just a beast mode scent all the way around, but I also don't expect it to be given the price point. Very impressed there. Projection was a little bit softer, at least on me, compared to Sauvage itself. It was more on the lines of carbon, a little bit softer, but it does linger in the air for a long time. That spray that I just did, you know, demonstrating for you guys, I could still smell it up in the air, and it'll stick around for a little while. So sillage is good, longevity is solid for the price, projection a little bit softer. And again, going back to just the price point here, the quality is also impressive. Now, again, this should go without saying, but I like to bring it up anyway. It's not going to be close to Sauvage itself in terms of quality of ingredients, or really even the product for that point. But there's another thing that you need to think about, and that is that most people out there will say that Sauvage is super synthetic, and it is definitely composed of a lot of synthetics. And so Sauvage itself isn't really known for being some super ultra smooth, high quality smelling scent. And so this one really doesn't have to compete with that. Now, of course, the ingredients that Dior was using when formulating Sauvage is going to be of higher quality than what this will be using. But this doesn't come across like a cheap, muddled mess, which is nice because there are some Sauvage, you know, clones or inspirations out there that do come across just kind of rough, right? And I think it can be a little bit tricky to master a DNA like this, especially in a cheapy price point, because it wouldn't be too hard to make it a complete mess. But this one is surprisingly smooth. Like I said, that anise kind of sweetness in here smooths it out, kind of gives it what we know now as a carbon feel, even though this did come a year before. And so I really like that about it. It's going to be a huge compliment getter, no doubt about it. I got this one in the mail initially, had my fiance smell it. I didn't say anything about it. I just said, you know, hey, smell this. And she was like, ooh, yeah, that smells really good. And immediately she started saying kind of similar to Sauvage, and she came up with it on her own. And I'm like, you're exactly right. I was just going to say that if she didn't guess it, that, yeah, it's impressively close to Sauvage at the price point. And so it was one that she was able to pick up on right off the bat. She's a big fan of Sauvage. I've worn it a lot. And so it kind of proof is in the pudding here with this one. Huge compliment getter for sure. Close to that Sauvage DNA on a budget. This is probably, at least from what I have and from what I've smelled, the best Sauvage clone or alternative so far for me. And I've got a few. This one might be the best. In fact, I think it is. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Roberto Capucci's L'Homme Suave. L'Homme Suave, L'Homme Sauvage, whatever you want to call it. Impressive. I was going into this one expecting it to be another $20 wasted, as what usually happens when I'm tracking down new cheapies and stuff like I've talked about on the channel. Why don't you talk about new stuff? Well, that's why I try. But a lot of times it's, you know, swing and hit and miss, and it can be a miss a lot of times. So this was definitely a hit. Big time, and hopefully you guys pick it up and like it as well. I will drop a link down below, get it for the best price. Really cool stuff. If you have Sauvage and you don't want to wear through your bottles super quickly, you can supplement this one in every so often, and it's going to do a good job. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.